name's Michael and welcome to Tabletop-Infiltrator. In today's video we're going to be having a look at my finished Impulsor transport. I've been working on him for a little while now. Because I've gone back to work, I'm not on furlough anymore, it's taken a lot longer than what I thought it would. But I have been plodding away at him on my live hobby streams. And I actually thought I was going to have to wait until my next hobby stream to finish him off. But I actually had some time over the weekend where I could really get stuck in, and I managed to get him done. So we'll have a look at how he turned out, his stats, how I plan to use him on the battlefield eventually. He's not going to go into my list straight away because I need to paint up some additional units and just plan how I'm going to use him. And then we'll see what's next for the channel in terms of projects I'm going to be working on. So let's jump in and have a look. So we're going to start off, so I've got the model here, and we'll just have a quick look at how he turned out. So this is my, I'll just move that out of the way quickly. There we go, that's my Impulsor transport. Now I am pretty happy with how he's turned out. I will be the first to admit that I do not like painting vehicles at all. They're just so big and awkward to paint, and yeah, I've always found them really difficult, and I think my particular technique of doing washes over everything doesn't really help, to be honest. But what I found is that taking my time with him, spending the last couple of, like I said, I think it's been 2 months actually I've been working on him, that I haven't rushed it, and I've put a bit of time in that I normally wouldn't do on some of my other vehicles. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how he's turned out. His decals, he did look a little bit flat, and then when I got the decals on, I was really happy with him. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed with how the end result is. So the base colour, I used my base colour, I think it's heavy blue, is the base colour for it. Lead Belcher on all the metallics, and Balthazar gold on the gold work there, and any ornate sections. Again, on the shield dome here, he's got his Lead Belcher silver, and then all of the lenses and stuff are gory red with a few highlights on there. So yeah, pretty chuffed with how it's turned out. And this is the first time actually I've used a lot of a contrast paint, Black Templars, I think it's Black Templars, on the on some of these sections here, and also like the seating in the back, if you can just see that, and the flooring. And what it does is, I found that you can't just apply it straight away because it doesn't go on too well, but if you water it down slightly, it turns it into like a thicker wash, and it's a lot darker than what Null Oil would be, but it's still got that high amount of pigment in it that it gives you a good colour, but it just goes on a lot easier if you wash it down slightly. So yeah, and then the inside I've just got the little console down at the back there, and then there's that reliquary section that's done in there. So, and I've done the base work to match in with the rest of my army. So yeah, let me know how you think he looks. I'm pretty chuffed with it. I think this technique will apply to the rest of the vehicles that I will be painting up for the Force. I do want to have most models in the Space Marine range represented in my army. There's a couple of them I'm not too bothered about, but I do want to get the majority in, and there's be some conversion work that I try and do. So like if I'm doing some rhinos or something, I'll do like a predator, and I'll try and convert it into a razorback and a rhino at the same time, so I'm not buying multiple units. So yeah, quite happy with this. Simple technique, but just took my time. Yeah, and I think he's turned out all right. So let me know down in the comment section what you think. Is there anything else you would add or take away? I'm not a big fan, I've got to say, of doing edge highlights or battle damage. I do kind of like the flat look, but that's just my personal preference. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section. So having a look at his stats and how I plan to use him on the tabletop. Let's find his profile. Back here. Crusader. 4 There we go. Right, there we go. So the Impulsor. So points cost, he's 7 power. But what are his points? Let's have a quick look. Dedicated transports. So he is 110 points as standard, and then I've given him the shield dome, which is 15 points. So he works out at 125 points in total, and I think that's not bad for a transport and what you gain. He has been nerfed a little bit from how good he was when he initially came out, but I still think, because 9th edition is sort of a transport edition, where if you keep your assets in there, your opponent's got to deal with your transport first, and then he's got to deal with the occupants. But yeah, so he's 125 points. He does bracket, so to start off with, he's got 14-inch movement, so he's really fast across the board. Weapon skill 6+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 7, toughness 7, 11 wounds, 3 attacks, at least you pay from 3 up save. And then when he brackets on, let's have a look, 5 wounds. So his first bracket is 5 wounds, and that's halves his movement, so it does affect it a lot. 6 up, his ballistic skill goes to 4 up, and his attacks go to D3. And then on 1 to 2 wounds remaining, he's got a 4-inch movement and a 5 up ballistic skill. Okay, and then he's armed with, he's equipped with 2 storm bolters, which is what I've equipped him with. So just to keep him nice, cheap and cheerful. The missile array I haven't got. Essentially it's crack missiles and frag missiles. And then the Icarus array, it's range 48, heavy D3, strength 7, -1 AP and 2 damage. Blast, each time attack with this weapon is made against an aircraft, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So +1 to the hit roll for firing against aircraft. And then Fragstorm grenade launcher, I haven't got it, but it's range 18, assault D6, strength 4, AP 0 and 1, and it's blast. The iron rail heavy stubber. Now, I have modelled him with one, but I just thought it looked cool. Let's have a look. Iron rail heavy stubber. So it's only 5 points. So I'd bump him up to 110, 125, 130. So they'd put him at 130. If I've got a couple of spare points, then I might use the Iron Hail heavy stubber. And it's range 36, heavy 4. So good range, heavy 4, strength 4, AP -1 and 1 damage. So it's not bad. It's like a slightly worse old edition heavy bolter, kind of. And then you've got the Iron Hail Sky Talon array, range 36, heavy 8, strength 4, -1, 1 damage. Each time you attack with this weapon against an aircraft unit, add 1 to that attack's hit roll, so +1 against aircraft. And then a Storm Bolter. So it's range 24, rapid fire 2, strength 4, AP 0 and 1 damage. So what I've equipped him with him currently is the shield dome. So it gives the bearer a 5+ invuln save. So when he first came out, it was even better. It was a 4-up invuln save, but they did nerf it and moved it to a 5-up. But to be honest, a 5-up is still really good, and will really come in handy for the task that I've got planned for him. So you can equip the model with an Iron Hail heavy stubber. Oh, and orbital comms array. So in your command phase, one model from your army with an orbital comms array that has not been used this battle can use it to call in an orbital barrage. Okay. So if it does, select 1 point in the battlefield and roll 1d6 for each unit within d6 of that point, subtracting 1 from the result if the unit is being rolled for as a character. On a 4+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, so a chance to inflict mortal wounds. But it's a lot of points. I think the orbital comms array, how much is that? Well, it's 15 points again, but it's not. And is it once in your command phase? Oh, I mean, no, because if you're going to go for it to damage output, you're going to go for a tank. So to be honest, I'm going to stick with the shield dome to give that 5-up in bone. You can give it an iron rail heavy stubber for 5 points. I might do that because I have modelled it with it. You can see it there, and it is on mine. It's got two storm bolters, but they can be replaced with the frag storm grenade launchers. If I'm going cheap and cheerful, the max I'd ever go for as an addition would be the heavy stubber. And then you can equip it with a shield dome, orbital comms array, bellicactus, missile array, or one iron hail sky talon array. Right. So two anti-aircraft versions that you can equip it with. And it has Angels of Death, so it has assault vehicle. So units embarked within this transport can disembark even if it has made a normal move this phase. If any unit that disembarks after this transport has made a normal move, so it can move, they can get out 3 inches, but they can't charge. Hover tank, so distances Osmers to and from this model's hull instead of the base, and explodes when this transport is destroyed. Roll 1d6. On a 6 it explodes. Units within 6 inches suffer d3 mortal wounds. There we go. And it can transport capacity of 6. It can only carry Primaris infantry units. Fair enough. I mean, why Firstborn wouldn't be able to get into it, I don't know, but I suppose that's just a balancing part by Games Workshop to do that. It cannot transport jump pack units or units in Gravis armors because they're just too bulky. And its keywords are Imperium, Adapters Astartes, Vehicle, Transport, Repulsor Field, and Impulsor. So I believe it does have a strat, that Repulsor Field. So let's have a quick look to see if I can find the stratagems. Repulsor Field. Grav pulse, here it is. I think this is it. So crews of gravitic battle tanks can discharge directed pulses of gravitic force through their ventral plates. So use the stratagem in either your movement phase when Adapters Astartes repulsor unit from your army falls back. Until the end of the turn, that unit is still eligible to shoot even though it fell back. Okay. Probably more applicable to like the tank versions of this. And then your opponent in your and then you can use it your opponent's charge phase when Adapters Astartes repulsor unit from your army is selected as a target of a charge. Until the end of the phase, subtract 2 from the charge roll made for any unit that declares a charge against that repulsor field unit, and that is 1 CP. So that's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad whatsoever. Let's go back to him. There we go. So the idea is, what I'm thinking is that I'll have he'll be deployed on the battlefield, right? And the plan is, I think, is to have a 5-man unit of Blade Guard veterans inside of him. And then what I'll aim to do is deploy him in my deployment zone. And then the idea is that I probably, more than likely every game, take Oath at the moment. And really, Space Marines thrive in that mid-board area anyway. So I'll get the Blade Guard in there, and I'll simply rush him upfield to either secure Oath at the moment, or if there's an objective in the middle of the board, I can jump up there and secure it. And then what my opponent has got to deal with, essentially, is he's got to get through the 11 wounds of the vehicle itself with the 5-up save. And then, if he does destroy it, then he's got to then deal with the occupants of then spilled out. And I was also thinking as well of taking the Primaris Captain, the one that comes in the Indominus box set. So that would be, let's have a look. I think that is, yeah, that one there, the Primaris Captain. And then what I do, because there's a transport capacity of 6, so I'd put the 5 veterans in there, and then I could give the captain possibly, it's a warlord trait. Let's find this quickly. Warlord trait, so, and the warlord trait would be, I think it's this one here, rights of war. So it's an aura, and while a friendly chapter core or chapter character unit is within 6 inches of this warlord, that unit has objective secured. So he runs up the battlefield. He plunks himself in the middle objective or in the middle of the board to get oath of the moment and hopefully secure some primary objectives. And then your opponent has to then destroy him to get him off the point, and then the occupants spill out, and then they've got objectives secured even though they're an elite choice because they've got the captain. So that's what I'm thinking, and I've seen quite a few battle reports where people have done that and have suggested that it's a good idea. So let me know down in the comment section if that's viable, if that's what people do. Obviously I'm not a meta chaser, but I do think that's a really cool idea that he goes up there and that he's holding that. He's going to be anchoring that middle part of the board, and then my other forces will be moving up, the supporting forces will be moving up to then secure the middle of the board and provide supporting fire or moving into assault. So the overall plan for the army is still that my infiltrators will move up, or will move up the board, will deploy high up on the board, and just really being a real pain to my opponent. The supporting forces will move up as like a second wave, and then this guy will instantly come up to give just my opponent just a load of headaches to have to deal with. And by the time they've dealt with the infiltrators and the impulsor with the blade guard veterans and the captain, and then dealt with the wave of infantry that's moving up behind it to then reinforce, I've built up such a lead when it comes in primaries and hopefully in secondaries that by the time they do break through, I would have got enough of a lead that I can get a victory out of it. So yeah, that is the plan with the impulsor. A couple more units that I need to paint up, and then hopefully we'll be good to go. So there we go, another unit ready to join my Redeemers chapter. So what's next for the channel? What projects have I got planned for going forward? So I actually played my first 2,000 point game using my list that I originally put together and painted up, and I played that 2 weeks ago. I think it is coming up for 2 weeks ago, and it was a really great battle. I learned so much, and my opponent was an absolute legend. It was a brilliant game. It lasted we were there for 6 hours. But it was really great. We really took our time working through the process because he's quite new to 40k as well, and it was really great, and it was really close as well. I don't think he's ever been beaten, and I took the lead really early on in the game, but eventually I just ran out of resources, and he managed to claw it back at the end. So well done to him. But it's definitely put me in a mindset of thinking what little tweaks that I want to do to the army. Now what I don't want to do is throw out the entire army list and start again, because I can't do that because it would take me another year to paint up a force, and I'm not doing that. And secondly, I did do really well. I think I did do really well for my first game. So what I want to do is just do a few tweaks to the list, a couple of things that I noticed just weren't working as well as they should do. So the first one is that I had a 5-man unit of Inceptors, and they just didn't, they're armed with the assault bolters, and I did think I'd drop them behind his lines and just waste a load of chaff units really, or screening units or something. And I dropped down and he actually had 2 like quad heavy bolters, they're like the Forge World ones, and they just weren't able to dish out enough damage, and they got bogged down in close combat. And I personally don't think I used them that well, and if I went into another game I might not send them into close combat. I might just use them to dart around the backboard and just put off some pot shots, because Gravis armor I noticed is really good, toughness 5. He was always wounding me on like 5s because he had a load of bolter weapons. He didn't have a lot of heavy support, so I'm on the edge about them. But what I am going to do is I am going to paint up a 5-man unit of eradicators. What I am going to do is paint up a 5-man unit of eradicators, because what I noticed is that as my force is going up, even though I tried to screen out as best as I could, he managed to get behind me just with a few inches gap that I'd missed. And also he broke through on one flank and just moved his way around, and I didn't have anything to protect my deployment zone, and that like bit of board just behind the midsection. And as I was pushing up, it was leaving my rear defenseless. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to keep the Hellblasters. The next time I play them, I'm going to keep the Hellblasters. They were really good, but I'm going to switch over to the standard Plasma Incinerator, which is Rapid Fire 1, Strength 7, AP -4 and 1 damage, and it's Strength 8 and 2 damage on the Supercharge. So I'm going to try that out. But the Eradicators are going to be, they're going to be really to, because their range isn't that great, it's 24 inches, so their threat zone is going to be like to pick off anything that comes into that mid-board and home deployment zone. That's the idea that I'm thinking with anyway, just because I really need some heavy firepower really to knock something out. So we'll see where we go. And then so that's my next, I'm going to be working on two sets of units. One's going to be in the background. The Eradicators I'm going to do in the background and just get those sorted out. And then the next unit, which I'm going to actually be painting up for like on the live streams and everything else, is a 10-man unit of Incursors. So the reasoning behind this is that in the list currently I've got 2 10-man squads of Infiltrators. One squad remains as a squad of 10, and another squad I split into combat squads. And my Captain of Phobos armor has got the Warlord trait, Lord of Deceit, which allows him to, after your deployment phase, but before you roll to see who goes first, you can redeploy up to 3 Phobos units in your army. The one thing is to really mess with my opponent, which is the original strategy, which I didn't pull off that well in this first game, is I deploy the 3 units, the 2 combat squads and the 10-man squad, right in front of his lines, like right next to his deployment zone, as close as I can get. I think it's 9 inches from their deployment zone, but as close as I can get, and just be as off-putting as possible. That's the idea. And what I found is that I deployed some other units first, and then deployed the 3 units, the 2 combat squads and the 10-man infiltrator squad up on the board, and it didn't really affect how he deployed the way I wanted it to do. So I'm going to swap out the 10-man infiltrator squad, and I've bought another box of infiltrators. I'm going to paint these guys up as Incursors, because what I want is a close combat option. They're armed with paired combat knives, which are strength 4, so not great, but AP -1 and 1 damage. So you're looking at like what, 10-man squad, 2 attacks on the Primaris Marines, 3 on the Sergeant, and +1 for each when they're on the charge. So it's a load of attacks that you can potentially put out at AP -1. And then if you get into the Assault Doctrine, it's AP -2. So they got potential to do a lot of damage there. So what I'm thinking is that my next game that I play, I use the Incursors and a 10-man Incursor squad, and they'll deploy right up in front of my opponent's deployment zone. And then I've got the two 5-man Infiltrator combat squads. Again, they'll deploy really high up as well, and I really want to try and have those units down first to be as off-putting as possible for my opponent, so he deploys somewhere else or further back in his deployment zone so he's not as close to me. And then I use my Warlord trait to redeploy them, and I am not going to tell you where I'm going to deploy them, because just in case he's watching. So yeah, that's the plan. 5-man squad of Eradicators. I'm just going to do those in my spare time. I'm not too fussed about when I get them painted up, because I have got the Inceptors. But the next project that I'll be working on my live streams will be in the 10-man Incursor squad. We'll get those painted up. I'll then get them onto the channel, show you how they've turned out. We'll go through the stats and just how I plan to use them on the tabletop. Or if by then I have used them on the tabletop, I'll let you know how they turned out. So that's it for another video. If you've enjoyed it, consider giving me a thumbs up, and if you haven't, a thumbs down. And if you want to support the channel, hit that subscribe button down in there in the corner, and switch on notifications so you never miss a video. All this really does help me out. And I'll hopefully see you next time.